Hello, Anastasiia, and welcome to the Merge Domain podcast. It's really a pleasure to have you here.
Hi, Christian. Thank you for having me.
And Alex is going to be my co-host today. Do you want to give a short introduction about yourself?
Sure. I'm Anastasiia. I'm based in Berlin. And in my free time, I'm running a Pi Berlin meetup here since 5 years, thanks to Christian, actually. He started that one. And in my work time, I used to work as a head of engineering for Native Instruments for a DJ department Tractor, now in between the jobs. So looking for a new challenge.
That's pretty cool because I used to have a tractor. It was a lot of fun. Okay, so I want to start by talking about your experience of creating and building a tech team. Um, like, is there anything you can share about what are the things you should look for? What are the characteristics of team members that ideally you would like to have?
Well, I can share both sides as an engineering manager and as an employee looking for a job. So basically, as an engineering manager and hiring manager, I would look for people who are fitting the team the most. So it's very important for the ones applying for the interviews to actually read the description because everything is written in there. What is engineering manager looking for, and also the culture of the team and of the company is very important. I mean, the company is quite generic usually, right? All the values and everything. But it is important to look to the values if they resonate with you as an employee, a future employee of the company. And for the hiring manager, it's very important to see whether the person fits to the culture that is there already. Because when the people start, they would try maybe to either adapt to the culture that is there or change the culture to their liking. And that's where something can go wrong. So if everything resonates fine, everything works fine for the people, then it would be basically happily ever after to stay with the company. If not, then obviously it would not be a good fit. I would say that the soft skills are maybe even sometimes more important for me, unless I'm searching for a very specific person with a very specific set of skills. Because the hard skills are something that usually people learn on the job, but the soft skills, those are very hard to learn. Also, you need to have a specific space and the learning and the time to learn, and also the will to learn. And not everyone is open to learn those. Also, for the feedback as well, it's a bit more tricky. Um, so I would look for people who are, uh, for example, for Tractor, open for feedback, people who are willing to collaborate and then talk with each other during their work, pair up for the pair programming. So people who are open for feedback, I would say. For other positions, maybe that would be a different case. Also for native instruments, different hiring managers would look for different things. And then usually the main description, not like the fluff around, like about the company and also the values and everything, but the main description, what is being looked for, has some basically hints on what is the most important for the hiring manager. Maybe one sentence, but that would be a crucial sentence that would show, oh, actually, this is the key. And this is something that I would focus on during my search.
Okay, I have a follow-up questions. So the first one is sometimes like you join a team as an engineering manager and there is already a culture in place. Like, what do you do when somehow you recognize, okay, this is not the culture I want to have in my team, or this is not a culture the company wants to have inside a team? Like, how do you change this? If you have any advice on this.
Oh, that's a tricky question. Also, the tricky one to do. As an engineer manager, when you show up, you are an outsider at first. So first, you need to gain the trust of the team members. You need to learn as much as you can about them, and then you need to actually care about them. So you need to maybe remember some even personal details that they wanted to share, personal things, and then talk with them openly and with empathy. So when you earn the trust, then you can start the change. And what I usually did, if the culture is completely different, then it should be one change, because you can measure changes if you introduce one change at a time. If you change the culture gradually, that would be very painful, because then after every change, the team will have to adapt. And then change after change, the team either would get used to the changes and then they will be fine, or they will all leave, right? Because they don't like the changes. So in my experience, I also changed a lot. It's not like the whole culture needed to be changed, but some things needed a change. Some processes just needed the complete replacement. For example, if the team was struggling with, I don't know, let's say priorities, and then they were doing too many things at the same time, so maybe the process was not right. And then I would replace the process with the correct process that I would think would fit in one go. And then after that, there would be step-by-step improvements. So then we already have some establishment, and then there was one change, like one big change for the team. So they would adapt gradually to that change, and then they would think, oh, actually, this is the process that we tailored ourselves for our team, so that it would be nicer instead of just doing changes and changes and changes. And I saw in one of the jobs, I was also an engineering manager in there, that the higher level management wanted to change a lot. They wanted to restructure, but then they did it not like in one go. They had waves of restructuring. There was one, and then there was a second in 3 months, and then there was a third in 3 months. A lot of people left because it was too much. One thing to have a restructuring is fine, people can adapt, but then if you have those frequently, then it would be very painful.
Okay, so just to recap on this, so your idea is, I joined the company, I give myself 30 days just to learn and basically get onboarded, and then you say, okay, starting from, I don't know, next week, we're going to change how we do things. And this, you either like it or not, but you can stay or you would leave. Is that how you would do that? Or,
It's not
I
that
mean, of course,
simple.
yeah. I mean, of course, it depends on many other things, but I think like high level strategy, that's how you would approach this.
Something like that, yes, but I will also get the buy-in from the team before that. So they will know about the changes, they will know that something is not working for them. And then obviously, if people are struggling or the company is struggling, they would know what is the reason. So I would be honest with the team, like, this is the reason for the change and it's needed, like you see, it's needed. So they will already sort of buy the change before it started. And then I would say, okay, this is the day when we change to the new way of working. And then we go from there. But they will already know about this. So yes, 30 days, and then you start changing the stuff.
Yeah, because I was in touch recently with a company. They had issues they hired a lot of people in the last 2 or 3 years, and they were quite unhappy with the quality. So basically, they changed from like a top-down approach. They changed what the expectation was going to be. And then they just started running a performance review cycle. And they started to, offload people that were not up to this new quality level.
Yeah, that happens as well.
You mentioned a few things about soft skills. Like, what are the things that for you are really important, like from the soft skills perspective? Like,
I would say communication, and then the feedback. Feedback in the sense, not the 360 feedback once a year, but the feedback that people can provide during working with each other, and the feedback that people can provide within the team. The most important skill, I would say, is to speak up and then have some um, sort of conflicts within the team, but the happy ones, not the conflicts like the conflicts, but the healthy discussions about the features, why this feature is not working or this way of working is not working. So something that the team members would challenge each other during the work, and then they would provide the feedback after challenging each other. And this is something that is very hard to learn. So if the people would have that out of the box, or are willing to at least give it a try, or I don't know some ways to practice that, at least some hints of the skills would be great. Yeah.
So you you would call it like be proactive about the improvement of the stuff you're building and how team is working.
Yeah. And always speak up, I would say, because that would improve the company and the team and the product itself. So that's a huge benefit. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
I just want to ask another question about the kind of seniority, no, sorry, the kind of skills that you're looking for when you hire really senior people. Like, let's say you're looking for a principal or staff engineer. Like, what kind of things you would like to find this kind of people? Because of course, hard skills like technical knowledge is important, but I'm curious about, okay, like, yeah, what kind of skills, like from the communication part or from how to drive more impact you're looking for?
Um, Basically, I think ownership is the top one for me, because if the senior would work in the team, then I would expect them to take ownership of some things, of the domains maybe, or some domain topics of the team, and then support others. So support less senior engineers, also the senior engineers, to have the communication skills to reach out to people. But at the same time, if senior engineer is not able to ask for support when they're struggling, this is also a big red flag for me. So I would, during the interview, I would give them a use case, and then I would ask them to act on that. So I would say, this is the situation that you're in. How would you be able to navigate through the uncertainty? How would you work through, for example, some very complex task that you are not aware of the way of working of that specific tool or the piece of code? How would you actually work it out? Would you deliver the value? And then I would expect them to either find somebody to pair up, or ask within the team if anyone knows, or maybe ask for support from their manager. This is important. I already had a few cases of that with my teams, that a senior working alone was basically busy with stuff, doing something, but not actually delivering the value because they were stuck in some cases, and then they were afraid to ask for support. And then it ended up that I had to intervene and step in and ask them to force them to get the support from the outside. And this is not the case. So I would expect the senior to be able to ask for support if they need, to be able to escalate things, to be able to find a solution on their own without my help like that.
Yeah, I think it's really tricky for like when you grow in your seniority level, like to really understand how also the expectation on your role they are changing. Like it's really about having impact either across the company or inside your team. And sometimes people they don't do this change.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, not only that, but also the act sort of ownership, like is related with agency, like is the freedom to do something, right? So usually when you enter in a team, it's hard to know what are you free to change, what are you free to do, and also at one point you are kind of in the middle of management and politics within a company. So there is a lot of expectations from management that you're kind of, it's harder to change because you have management with certain interests. And I think, yeah, so having a lot of agency to change things is good. So, and be able to change, so having the ownership to act on these things. But sometimes it's pretty hard to know what you can change and where. So what's your limit, if there is any? I've seen a lot of teams stuck because of politics.
And I have a follow-up question on this. What do you do when you want to change something inside your team, but you don't have the buy-in from your boss or from the HR team? Like, what do you do when you know that something is not working inside your team? Someone is underperforming, is minding the quality of the team, because the other team members, they are aware of this. But yeah, somehow you don't have the tools, or your managers, they're not helping you with this.
So for the underperformance, for example, I would not go outside of the team, ask for support unless I'm very stuck. And the things that I tried with the team members in the one-on-one didn't work. So first I would try myself to fix the situation, to have a one-on-one, to provide the feedback, to collect the feedback from the outside, and then talk with the person, give them a chance, or maybe sometimes there is a situation in their life that is affecting the work life. But if nothing works, then I would ask for support from the outside. And if there is no support, well, I will keep trying. Would say on my own. If there is a change that I need to do within the team, I would not ask for permission outside unless it is really going against of the company rules. Because if I would change something within the team to make the team high performing, this is in the company interest to build that team, right? It's in their interest to improve the outcome of the team and then speed everyone up. So I would not ask for permission for every single thing. And I'm a manager, so this is also my work to do. This is my task. And I don't need the same permission for every single step. It's the same with the senior. For example, I would expect seniors to actually be independent from the managers as well, and then be able to take decisions on their own. So they don't need to get an approval for feature development, right? They take the task, they take the feature, and then they go with their implementation. What was done in one of the teams is that the tech lead had to approve every feature development for every engineer. And that was just not working at all. And then if you would discover that, you would ask, like, why? What's the point? But some people are like that. They really want to own everything, every single part of the code. They really want to see how is it going because they don't trust the others, because they don't trust that the changes are good ones. So if I have the manager like this, obviously that manager would try to micromanage everything, but it doesn't do any good for the teams as well.
I mean, gatekeeping like that, you're gonna kill the team morale. And
Exactly.
yeah, I just want to close the hiring topic with hiring and team topics with one last question. Like, how do you think AI is changing, if it's changing at all, the hiring process?
It's helping to pass the coding challenges and also the task.
Yeah, that's for sure.
It's giving the guidance, I would say. I mean, you don't need to spend a million of hours of typing the same stuff that is out there in internet. So it can give you the guidance. If you have the task, you can ask ChatGPT, like, what is the solution? And then there is some solution. It doesn't mean that it's a good one. It doesn't mean that it's the only solution, but it would help with the guidance. So if you're completely stuck, you can use that one. If you don't have time, you can use that one. Anyways, the interviews are structured in the way that there would be still an interview after a task with the manager, with the team. And then if it's not your solution, then you need to either study that solution or you need to really know what's going on with the solution. Because you will have to present and
do you think you will raise the bar of the take-home task, or I mean, you already know that it's going to be ChatGPT based, or
yeah, I know that it would be ChatGPT most of the times. That's why my task is mostly about the solution that they would pick. Mostly, I would give the limitation of the hours. This is the time that you have. You have like 4 hours maximum. And then I would see what are the first things that they would pick, basically. Because if they take the whole task and then they will do everything, then I will ask them in a one-on-one, what is the top most things that you would pick? Like, are those the tests? So would you start writing the tests first and then you would implement the solution? Would you add some piece of documentation for the reviewer to read? Those kind of questions. Because then that would show the seniority level. And then if there is an architectural task, for example, I would ask them, why would you choose this technology or the other one?
You know, that's pretty interesting. Any tips for junior devs that are looking for a job? Because I know that a lot of companies, they just decide, okay, we're just going to focus on basically senior developers, and we're just going to keep them ChatGPT or cloud subscription.
Well, unfortunately for juniors, it's a tough market. It's really hard to get in if you're a junior at the moment because everyone wants a senior who does everything. So a senior engineer who does not only the hands-on, but does the tech leadership, architecture, some kind of management, maybe a CTO as well. While looking for my own job, I had the same issue. So they're looking for a director or head of engineering or a CTO with a hands-on, with experience talking with the not just C-level or being a C-level, also with investors, so everything. So you're just one person company, right? For juniors, I would say if they're passionate about the product that they are applying into, if they are convincing the hiring manager to open up to make that opening, this is what happened with me. We had a less junior candidate, but that candidate made such a good impression that we opened up to lower the bar and then hire not the skilled or a senior, because this is what was in the application, that we were looking for a skilled and a senior engineer, but then we ended up hiring a junior. It took some time for the team and also for the team to have the courage to teach someone less senior and also to take them by hand and basically show around. But that was a huge benefit. So if the company is open to have this time spent on the talent, then this is a possibility. If not, then there would be no way to get that hire in.
Well, you can also look for a senior who can coach. So it's a CTO, can talk to investors, can code, can do architecture and coach.
Yeah, that is true. Or the referrals, actually. So the good way to get into the company is a referral. So even for the junior, if you have some projects on your own, you can share the projects. You can also reach out to people working in the company that you really want to get in and ask them for a referral. And maybe that would be just right at that moment.
Yeah, I think referral and friends of friends or events, they're definitely underrated for people looking for a job. Like, when I have people or friends there looking for a job and they ask me, okay, or they ask them, okay, what are you doing? Well, I'm just applying, but you don't want to apply. You want to talk directly to the area manager, go to events, like talk to people that are already there. Like, you don't want to be one of the many that apply to a job. You want to be someone that is well known inside.
Yeah, if there is a meetup, for example, at that company, which could be also the case for Berlin specifically, there are lots of meetups for the companies. And if you want that company, then look out for the meetups that they organize and then reach out to the people over there. That would be, I think, even better, or even give a talk at that event.
Yes, that's a great advice. I want to move to the release process and quality. In your experience, like when you have to deal with speed of releases and the quality of the releases, software in general, like how would you approach this, and what's your experience? Because you also work in like software for hardware, which I think is pretty tough. What was your experience there?
Oh, it's a different experience, actually. When you have hardware and then you have the software at the same time, you need both to be able to work. Also, you have different operation systems to support. And as a DJ, you don't have a right on restarting the laptop on the stage, right? You cannot also restart the application. And that's where the problem is. So if there is something wrong with the software and then it crashes, that's it. Like, there is no trust from DJs to the application anymore. Then you will obviously not go on the stage and then restarting the laptop, restarting the application, or even trying to find what's wrong. That would be a disaster. So we do have the quality standards for the code. This is a usual definition of done for the feature. So it has to go with the good code. So we don't have to find any shortcuts, because if we keep on adding the shortcuts, also technical debt into the code that is already old enough, then it would break probably everything for the DJs as well. So the go-to for us is to deliver the feature in the best quality. If we need to deliver something fast, sometimes, there are cases all over the place like this. Like there is a deadline, you need to deliver, a release is in, I don't know, half a year, and then the feature development would take a year. So I would ask the product managers to either cut the feature, and then we can release in the follow-ups the other parts of the feature. So we release the first iteration of it. Or then we deliver in the quick way, and then we plan in all the fixes afterwards. But then it has to be written in the good quality code, actually. So the speed is not the case for Traktor team. It has to be the quality. This is the top priority one. If the speed is important, then we need to plan in the quality. And then we don't deliver the features, we just fix everything that we have broken while creating the feature. But that's usually not the case.
You mentioned a few times quality code. Did you have metrics, or did you have a way to define this?
For the code?
Yeah.
For the code is the code review that defines the quality. And basically, code review is taking quite a lot of time, just because we need to make sure that the code not only works, but it's not the one that is going to break DJ's workflow. That's why engineers spend quite a lot of time. I mean, we do have the metrics, not for the code quality. For the code quality, we have some automated tests that are running on the PRs. So some automation, yes, of course. Some of the beautifiers, yes, that's the standard stuff. Formatters, but that's it. For everything else, this is the human factor, I would say.
Was a single review, or was like a team review, so all team members were supposed to review the...
It's almost a team review, but at least 2 seniors have to review the code. So if there are 2 seniors who are approving the PR, then it is good to go to the testing. And for the testing, we have the manual testing, we have also automation testing, we have the alpha testing group, we have the beta testing group, and then there is also testing within the company. And then after that, it's live. So there are lots of stages of the testing. But that's not the code quality, it's the quality of the feature, right, as well.
Okay. That's super interesting. So you had someone in charge of the release cycle, or was inside the team and you as an engineer manager were following up on the release cycle? So let's say that the developer or the team says, okay, we can merge this PR, and then I guess there is a release cycle from, let's call it dev, to the machines, to the hardware.
Yeah, so the releases are a bit different within the team. They are all planned by the product managers, and they are all on the roadmap. So every member knows when the release is going to happen. Obviously, it can go one day here or there, but usually those are before the end of the week. So it has to be Wednesday, Thursday, because on Friday, this is Friday, no releases on Friday. So all the releases have to be done before the end of the week.
DJs are also working on Friday, so...
No, there is a trick.
Okay.
The release has to be before the end of the week, because at the weekend they can try it out. This is the trick.
Jeez.
So if we release on Friday, theoretically it's fine. So they can still try it out on Saturday and Sunday. But then on Friday, the team has lots of the part-time workers. That's why Friday is not ideal, because the least team members are in. And there should be a QA, a release manager, I would say, which is a rotating position. So this is a role that a team member, most likely a senior, would take on. There is the entire flow, not automated yet. Some pieces are, but it's mostly manual the build itself is automated, but uploading that, also writing the short introduction about what is there. So for the alpha and beta, you would go on the forum, for example, and you have to be registered in there. You have to sign an NDA for the alpha forum to be able to test that. For the beta forum, I think there's no NDA, and then you can test it. It's pretty open, but then you need to be registered there as a beta tester. So you would get the description, what is needed to be tested. You would see all the bugs, everything, all the new features with descriptions. And those descriptions are also written by the team members, not by engineers, but also with the engineer input. And then after the alpha, a few months, few weeks, it depends on the feature. Then we go to the beta. Then after the beta, we have this 3-week cycle usually. And then there is an official release. Sometimes it can be 6 weeks if there is a crucial fix.
So there is quite some time between we just
Yes.
merged this and then release this to
Yes.
customers. Okay. I want to come up with 2 different situations. Let's say that maybe they are engineering manager, director, or CTO is listening to this, and they have. So let's talk about the first one. They have a problem. It's a quality problem. So we release quite often, and the quality is really low. We get a lot of bugs and a lot of like customers or users. They started to complain. You just joined the company. How would you push this?
I joined as a manager of that team.
Yep.
Okay, that's crucial because then I can start changing the
Yeah,
things.
with a specific goal, we need to increase the quality because we're losing customers.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I would do probably sort of a postmortem and ask why is it happening the 5 times. That's the usual postmortem type. Fine. And then I would go to the root cause of why do we have so many bugs? What step is missing in there? Is it the environment that is different from the production, so we cannot properly test? Or do we have not enough tests in place to prevent the releases with the bugs to go through? And then I would just automate everything possible around that issue. So then there would be no human mistake anymore.
I guess since quality is the main priority when you have such a situation, writing tests and automating tests are taking as a priority instead of the features that are planned for the next cycle. Or
yeah, I mean, if the company is losing customers, then something is needed to be done. Then this is the
Right.
trade-off that the company will have to take to focus on the quality, and the priority would be not the feature delivery, but stabilizing the code. Or if the team is big enough, it could be half of the team works on the quality improvements and half of the
Right.
team works on the features. This is also what we did. We had the 2 different delivery flows. So then the engineering roadmap, for example, would be one part of the team, and that would have all the improvements in place. The other would be feature delivery, but they will have to come together and then discuss because some of the features are not compatible with some of the improvements.
Right.
How would you prioritize this? Like considering the time, like the size of the team? Because I mean, if you have unlimited developers, then it's another story. But let's say you have a team of 5, like.
Well, it depends on the situation. So this is actually what I would do if I start a new job. I would do the discovery of the problems, then I will have the plan in place. And that plan would include the engineering roadmap, so the items that would need to be acted on, also the plan. And then it would be a discussion with the product managers on the trade-offs. So I would include the trade-offs and also the capacity planning for the team into those roadmaps. And then I will show, so this is the focus that we'll have to take. Otherwise, the feature delivery would be so painful as before. So if we want to change, then this is the way. So I would probably create 3 options. One would be the best one if we focus a lot on the quality, and then we have, I don't know, maybe 1-2 people working on the feature delivery if this is possible, or maybe even 1 person doing some improvements for some time for maybe a few iterations. And then we would focus on the proper releases and the proper feature delivery after the things are fixed and more stabilized. If not, there would be a plan B, there would be a plan C as well. So it depends how bad the situation is. So if the situation is terrible and then there should be an immediate fix, then obviously they will have to stop feature delivery. Otherwise, there would be no changes, right? Then the changes in parallel and the feature delivery, they can break each other as well.
Okay, now let's twist the situation a little bit differently, and let's say that the problem is not the quality, but the problem is the release cycle. So it's just taking too long, and the company has, like, the idea is to really to speed this up, like in the next 6 months. Instead of releasing every month, we want to release every week. Would you have a different approach compared to the quality, or?
Yeah, that would be different. So that would be also engineering roadmap, also the plan, how to work with that. So first, I would sit together with the engineers and then we will create a plan, how to actually automate all the things, improve the release process. First part is the documentation. So if the process is documented on its own and then everyone is able to perform the process, then it would be the first step. It would speed the things up as well. And then we can start automating the things. If it's crucial for the company, obviously a few more developers will join that project, not just one, but maybe 2 developers at the same time, and then we can automate the process. Because if this is the bottleneck, that has to go first.
I really like it, and this may be something that I'm just guessing, but it seems you really care about getting the buy-in from the team. So it's not just I'm going to push this and yeah, I'm going to force this. Like, I really need to understand why it works in the world this way. I need to understand, like, the team's dynamics, all these sort of things. I think that's really easy to forget about that.
Yeah, I wonder how do you do it? Because I've been trying to get the buy-in from teams, and usually there's a bias. So if you try to do it with everyone together, usually there is 1 or 2 that are just agreeing because of the rest of the team is agreeing. And yeah, I've seen very different scenarios here. I actually think working remotely makes this also harder to get the feeling of the whole team on certain situations and certain agreements. What do you think about this?
Well, actually, my team is co-located in Berlin. Almost everyone was in Berlin, almost all the 3 years that I worked for NATO Instruments, but we worked remotely anyway. So always there were some team members who stayed at home, or maybe they were working from abroad or from Brandenburg, also not close by, or the transportation wasn't working, also the case in Berlin. So the remote part of work, it's just making it different. That's it. So we just did in-person plannings once in 3 months. We were meeting for 1 day all together, and that's it. Just because the team was not performing, and it was the way to people get together. But after that, everything else was remote. All the meetings, everything. So it didn't stop the team from improvements. What helped is to get people interested in the improvements. So first they need to see the problems. They need to understand that that is the problem. If, for example, there is a tech lead who is taking all the decisions for everyone, and the team is just getting used to it, and they're fine, right? There is still a problem. This is a big problem. So I would first start with the person causing that trouble and then explain them why is it a problem and why the team members will have to take their own decision. And then I would talk with the team members. This is how I would get the buy-in. But this is the hardest way of getting the buy-in. The easiest way is to show them the problem and then give them the time to think of the solution. So then when they have their own solution and I don't need to intervene, I don't need to tell them this is what we are going to do, they would be more interested in implementing that solution because that's their own idea obviously. That's their own initiative, and they can sort of earn the points, I would say, for that.
Okay, I think it's time to wrap up. I'm always surprised by the amount of things that I learned by talking to you, Anastasia. So I just wanted to ask you a few closing questions. So first of all, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Probably LinkedIn or the email.
Perfect. So I'm just going to put that in the show notes. And I know that you're organizing the Pyberlin meetups. Do you have a next date?
Yes, actually, it's already this week. It's March 12th. It's in Berlin, and looking forward to see everyone.
Well, that's. I mean, it's always a great event. I always like to go back there and attend. It's always a great feeling.
Yeah.
So, Anastasia, thank you again for your time. It was a pleasure, and see you hopefully soon in Berlin.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thanks for joining.